Tell me the truth, CampHacker listeners. Are you avoiding your camp parents?
This is CampHacker. Come find our show notes and our blog for camp directors and leaders at camphacker.tv.
Camp leaders, win back your time to what matters most, your campers. Bolin's comprehensive accounting back office solutions and tech-enabled team free up your staff to focus on your mission. Visit bolinhq.com to learn more and book a free 2-hour financial diagnostic.
Remember what sparked your passion for camp? UltraCamp knows it's about the people, not the paperwork. That's why they built a platform to simplify your camp management. Learn more at ultracampmanagement.com/camphacker. Hello, Camp Mavericks, and welcome to the CampHacker podcast, brought to you by UltraCamp, Bolin, and the Camper Recruitment and Retention Playbook from Joanna Warren-Smith and me. I'm Travis Allison. I'm a summer camp consultant specializing in getting parents to open, read, and act on your emails.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Hudson. I am also a camp consultant specializing in diversity, equity, inclusion, staff management, and leadership. And my goal is to make sure that every camp space is available to anyone, regardless of how they identify.
Hey, everybody. My name is Joanna Warren-Smith, and I work with summer camps across the country and internationally. And at this point, I've assessed over 500 camps. And
Amazing.
I work with an amazing group of people. They're called parents, and I deal with them in focus groups. And I've been doing that for over 15 years, and they keep me honest. And I so appreciate who they are and what they do for the industry.
I'm Ruby Compton. I'm the Chief Exploration Officer for Ruby Outdoors based in Western North Carolina. And I primarily do training and support for camps and outdoor programs. And a lot of my parent interface comes through working in outdoor education and guiding adults outdoors.
Welcome back to CampHacker, Ruby. We're grateful you're here. It's nice to have you. Joanna, I'm so grateful you're here today because I use your name in vain whenever something like this comes up on the show. But before we get to there, I wanted to just give folks a quick review on you. How did you get connected to camp?
Well, my mother sent me to resident camp when I was 7 years old, and it was 2 weeks, and it was the last night of camp. And I was holding my candle and I pushed it out onto the lake. And I said to myself, camp will forever be part of my life. And it has been. I know it sounds schmaltzy, but it's true.
Camp is
Perfect.
schmaltzy. It's perfect.
It is. Absolutely. And I thank
Perfect
her
for
for
this
the opportunity. And she also made sure I went to college, first one in the family. And I am grateful.
That's amazing. And how did you start the camp consulting work that you do, Joanna?
My first husband concluded that people without budgets needed someone they could go to for advice. And that advice was just not available for summer camps. And so that was the time, and that was the place to make those kinds of opportunities available. And my theory was that if you were going to be an expert on camp, you had to actually be in the field seeing camp. And that's what I did. I never referred to camp unless I had actually been to the camp and experienced it. So that was the start. And that's what worked.
That's great. Well, I'm so grateful to the two of you for joining this discussion with us. This discussion comes out of an article I've shared with all the co-hosts, and we'll put in the notes from a writer that I really like and has been my tool of the week a number of times. A number of his books have been my tool of the week. His name is Jay Baer, and his point was that a lot of businesses avoid talking to their customers. And I think that is pretty common thing to hear people intimate when they're talking about their camp work, whether it's before sale or after sale, that they seem to have. Some folks have a bit of pride in how many unread emails are in their box. And my theory is that as camp leaders, we cannot look sloppy, and not answering messages makes us look sloppy and makes parents feel unsafe. And Joanna and I did a survey with Dan Weir, friend of the show, and we talked to parents who had not sent their kids to camp, and their biggest point was that they didn't feel like camp was safe. And I think that that's on us. And if you have someone who's reached out to you and said they want to send their kid to camp and you don't reply to them, they will not feel safe sending their kids. So I wanted to see how folks are doing with that, what they think. Joanna, since I have brought up your name on this topic a number of times, I wonder if you would mind starting us off on your experiences talking to parents who are committed to their camps and enough that they will show up for a focus group.
Well, it's interesting because if we talk with a group of camp professionals, they'll sit around the table and they'll say, "Oh, I respond to parents all the time. You're not going to fault me. I'm the one who responds." But parents tell me that when they initially connect with a camp or are looking for a camp, they contact 3 to 5 camps, and usually 1 or 2 gets back to them. And where do the others go? And if a camp does get back in touch with them, what they report unanimously across the country, it doesn't matter the socioeconomics of the camp, whether the child is totally subsidized or they are paying top dollar for the camp, the camp professional does not follow up as intently as the parent would hope or expect. And so we, as an industry, fall short of what the marketplace expectation is.
Joanna, you said what the parents hope and expect, which is really what I want to bring to this conversation. What are the expectations of parents? I know what the expectations of our parents have been. And I mean, if I'm going to be generous, sometimes those expectations are, idealized. I'm being very generous, idealized. And so when parents report that camp directors are not meeting their expectations for response, and I am not trying to say that all camp directors are victims of parents. No. Yes, this is a well-known phenomenon. All camps need to be better at talking to parents. But if we're checking that against parents' expectations, I just feel like we're always going to lose.
Well, the most important is timeliness. Look at us. We're all busy. When we decide we're going to solve a problem, Johnny, Bobby, Mary going to camp, when do you want to do it? Not next week. You want to do it now. You make the call or you send the email. You want a response back as quickly as possible. So the timeliness becomes an issue. And then what is the content of the response? Is it meaningful? Does it move you to the next step? Or is it, "Hey, we heard from you. Thank you very much"? That doesn't move us anywhere. So is there sufficient response for us to move to the next step? Or are we just saying, "Hi, how are you?" So parents want the relationship to start growing and maturing and building trust. Do I feel safe with this person that I'm considering to take care of my child? Or am I questioning whether I'm even going down the wrong path?
Joanna, one of the things that sparked for me in saying that, I think about one of the camp jobs I had that we actually had a physical piece of paper that got passed around when we had new camper leads, that it stuck it to the top of your priority list for your work. Like when you come into work, and granted, work has changed a lot since I've was working in camp, but that on your keyboard would be like, here is this name and this phone number of this parent that called and told us these things. Like, it is your responsibility to call them back. And when you're done with that, that piece of paper would get passed along. Ultimately, it would end up in a digital system. But thinking about the workflow of how we pass along that task is certainly something that needs to be figured out in your business. And it's such a key part of your sales funnel that if you're not doing that in a way that integrates well with everyone else's workflow, that's one of the places it gets dropped.
And you might think, oh, that's terribly old-fashioned, but it works. It really works. And the person checks off, dates it, puts a timestamp on it, and you know that that inquiry is being taken care of. It's astounding. The attention to details that's absolutely necessary to assure parents that you're on top of it. In real estate, there are 3 issues: location, location, location. In camp, there are 3 issues: safety, safety, and safety. That's all parents want to know. It's nice that you have a ropes course. It's wonderful that you have a swimming pool. But are you going to keep my child safe?
When I think about this, Chris, and I think, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that you're questioning, can we ever satisfy parents' need for more information? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all of what we're saying is true, but I keep checking it against my experience with parents. And our camp is small. It's very touchy-feely. Me and the other director said we have personal relationships. Like, we have personal relationships with the parents. I'm hanging out with one of them tomorrow night. Like, and still, or maybe because of the amount of interaction they want with us during camp, it's just a little improbable. And so I always wonder, how do we balance? I mean, I'm not saying everyone needs to have personal relationship with their parents. Sometimes it's a lot of trouble because if you don't like someone anymore, how do you break up with them as a friend but not as a customer? That's a different podcast. But like, how do we match that? Okay, but more specifically, how do we maintain that relationship that they're looking for that you mentioned, Joanna, and keep it professional, right? To communicate to them about safety first, second, and third, and then all the fun we're going to have in the rest of it, but keep that professional so they don't think they can text me at 11:30 p.m.
about something trivial.
Like, listen. You
Right,
hear
okay.
trivialities, but
Right.
yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So it's important that you establish expectations and parameters, like as adults we do with any good relationship. So with parents, if you are establishing the guidelines. This is how we're going to communicate in the case of an emergency, in the case of awkward situations, in the case of problems. This is how we're going to do it. And this is how we're going to deal with day-to-day communications. We're going to let you know when it's wear a pink t-shirt to camp day, when it's wear a funny hat today to camp. That's how we'll communicate. And this is how you're going to get camp photos and when you're going to have access to camp photos and when you'll get the context for the camp photos. You're not going to get a 24-hour live stream of camp. They tried that once. It didn't work. It infringed on the privacy and the independence of kids.
Some parents are still looking for that, by the way.
Yes.
You know, I mean, the amount of times I've had to send proof of life pictures to parents, there's a line of kids who have to be gathered at meal times, and it just says, stand in front of this tree. Stand in front of this tree. I gotta text your mom. Like, yeah. So anyway,
so establishing the guidelines and monitoring when people go outside of those guidelines. Mrs. Jones, this really isn't part of the guideline structure. And bringing it back and reminding everyone that even in the height of the summer, these are the parameters that we all agreed to, and this is what's best for your child. It's a tough road, but it can be done. And there are camps doing it very, very well.
Can we talk about that? The camps that are doing it very, very well, like what are Ruby's laughing. I need tips. No, but what are those camps doing specifically that people can like take away and try?
I think.
Go ahead, Travis.
Well, I mean, to quote a famous Go Camp Pro podcaster, Beth Allison, front loading is the entire game. in this, which is what Joanna's talking about. Giving them the expectations, reminding them of the expectations, giving them the expectations in a different medium, and then reminding, like, it has to be all prepared ahead of time so that they can do that. I want to come back to Chris, like, what does good communication look like? But setting expectations and just being sure that they have a clear picture of that, and maybe even there's coming to a point that I think that I would be having parents sign off on a lot more individual things instead of sign off on everything, just so that I know that they have taken responsibility for everything.
Camp leaders, are you bogged down with bookkeeping, accounting, and other back office tasks? Does it take precious time away from what matters most, your campers? Imagine a solution that frees up your staff to focus on creating impactful and memorable experiences for your campers. That's where Bolin comes in. Bolin offers comprehensive accounting back office solutions designed specifically for camps. Our tech-enabled team handles everything from payroll and bookkeeping to financial reporting, compliance, expense management, spend control, and more, allowing your staff to passionately pursue your number one purpose. With Bolin, you can streamline your camp's financial operations, reduce stress, and ensure your team is free to make a lasting impact in your campers' lives. It's time to win back your time and work with a financial partner that truly understands camps. Whether you're a for-profit, nonprofit, overnight, or day camp, Bolin has a solution for you. Visit bolinhq.com to learn more and book a free 2-hour financial diagnostic. The report is yours whether you sign up or not. Let Bolin take care of your accounting needs so you can focus on what truly matters, your campers.
Exclusive to CampHacker listeners. Generate fresh ideas for activities, staff training, marketing campaigns, and more with UltraCamp's plug-and-play AI prompt guide. Download it for free at ultracampmanagement.com/CampHacker. Why struggle with multiple systems when one can do it all? UltraCamp offers a platform that simplifies your work by combining all aspects of camp management into one seamless solution. UltraCamp brings everything you need into one easy-to-use platform. Plan schedules and activities with just a few clicks. Register and track campers easily organize, schedule, and automate your communications. Manage payments and donations seamlessly. Get back to what you love. UltraCamp helps you spend less time on admin tasks and more time creating unforgettable camp experiences. Ready to see if UltraCamp is the perfect fit? Schedule your free personalized demo at ultracampmanagement.com/CampHacker. Ruby, what do you think good communication with parents look like?
Yeah, one of the things that I liked to do was to call with good news. When I would try to put in my weekly routine that I'd walk around camp and take notice of interesting good stuff that was happening and pick up the phone and call the parent and say, "Hey, this is so-and-so from camp. Your child is fine." And actually, I have a really great story I want to tell you from what I just saw happen. And that is a deposit in the trust bank, right? That I'm not only going to call you when things are going terribly, but also I'm going to call you when I see something really wonderful. And we are that partnership. I think the answer of how do you manage this parent communication is you cannot do it all by yourself. Train your summer leadership team and your other year-round folks to get on the phone and talk effectively to parents so that they will also feel empowered to make some of those phone calls. And because it takes a village. It takes a village to do the proper amount of communication that is expected today.
Your point is a really good one. Train your leadership team. Not everyone is intuitively able to do that, and they won't do it with your style. So it's good that you have the opportunity to role model that for them so that they get the style. Even sample scripts that they can not read word for word, but just get comfortable with so they get the sense of your intention, because you want people who are speaking on your behalf to sound like you and to speak with the philosophy that you have so that everyone sounds the same.
That training, I think, should go as far as doing practice conversations. If they're going to be empowered to do this, then nobody talks on the phone very much anymore. So that whole bit of how do
Yeah.
you talk to someone? How do you talk to a parent who's nervous, first of all? And then how do you listen as well in a conversation is a big part of. So I could see that being a practice thing.
I agree with you completely. There would have to be like a handbook on how to, if multiple people are calling parents, and like Joanna said, it's all supposed to
Yep.
be the same. It's like you're going to really have to mandate things. At Disney World, you'll never hear anyone on the staff say unfortunately. Never. And if you say like, oh, can I have the discount tickets? Oh, we're all out. They'll never say unfortunately. They'll never say it because they're told to not say unfortunate to the guests, to suggest to them that something may not be possible. And something similar for staff, leadership staff who are calling parents, I think would have to be necessary just so you do get that kind of similarity that Joanna's talking about.
Chris, you asked for a technique. A very effective technique has been
Yes.
a parent or camper liaison. So someone who is actually focused on the issues that are at hand, bringing them to the attention of the director, and then speaking to the parent on behalf of the camper so that the conversation, the communication is active and progressive and resolving issues. That has been a very effective tool. Some communities that have adopted that have actually brought in a camper or parent liaisons. People change the title for the younger camp, the midi camp, and the senior camp, or boys camp and girls camp, because the methodology has worked so successfully. Because that person is able to really focus on what the issues are and bring them to resolution. So,
Is that a thought, Ruby? Is that your thinking face? No, it's
I
fine.
just said that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for
Yeah.
that. That was
Yeah.
actually cool. Yeah.
Really very practical.
Cool stuff.
We jump right to our parents signed up campers at camp. I don't want to skip over the point where you're trying to convince parents that you're worthy of their trust for them to send their kids. Because the specific article, again, you can find in the show notes at camphacker.tv/podcast. It talked about telling a business that you are interested in them and them then ignoring that. And you used to think that in past times, there would be some point between a parent saying, we need a safe place for our kids to go during the summer, and that moment where they put their credit card in online to book it, that we need to know who they are in between there so we can build trust. We can convince them they're safe. So there has to be dozens and dozens and dozens of parents looking at the camp when one contacts you. So people either have the same issues as that person, and that's a bellwether, you decide based on that, or you're just thinking to yourself, like, here's a parent I can actually talk to. No one else has asked me for specifics, no one else has particular questions. This is someone who's very serious about camp. If they're taking time out of the day to leave you a message and send an email with questions, that kind of stuff. And as someone who thinks about getting more kids to camp every moment of every day, it just infuriates me that camps leave that on the table and they're so ready. Ruben, what's the sort of thing that you have said to a parent that helped convince them to make the decision to send their kid to camp?
Knowing your audience really well. The camp that I ran was a camp full of kids who are more comfortable talking to adults than to other kids. And when you can describe that, like, we served a lot of kids, but that was the customer that we served the best. And when you're talking to that parent and you say those words and they go, oh, that is my kid, then you like hook, line, and sinker, you got them. And so I think understanding who are the kids that flourish the most, understanding your parent base of what are the concerns that, 9 out of 10 of them are bringing, and just going right for the jugular on it, honestly, because that lets folks know that you're serious about what you do and you do it well, and you know where your strengths lie. I think the other really good lesson that I got early on was make sure you're talking in benefits, not features. So your swimming pool is great, your 3,400 acres of land is great, but that is not necessarily what they're looking at. Like, will my kid walk away knowing how to talk to other people their age? Will my child walk away with new memories and new friends? So benefits, not features, and really know your population.
And even
Benefits,
when you
not
say,
features. It's great.
yeah, even when you say pool, 3,400 acres, every one of those is a safety trap to that parent's mind. And you need to earn the right to warm them up to that with that discussion of safety and them feeling safe. But yeah, that your line about that kid who's more comfortable talking to parents, to adults than other kids, I've used that over and over again as a wonderful example. I'm so glad it came out in this discussion. What do you think, Chris, is a good way to convince parents to make the final step?
Thinking about this, I mean, like Ruby said, you really have to know your audience. Like you really have to know what people are looking for. My camp is a specialty camp. So by the time they're talking to me, they're kind of halfway on board, right?
Mm.
They're already curious. They know their kid's going to be safe because it's a queer focused environment. Like, so they basically have questions about that. They have questions about the safety. They have questions, but that usually passes really quickly once they understand how serious we are about it. But I think the real kicker for us lately has been really focusing on the social aspects of it. I think, especially like right after the pandemic, it was like sold. Like we really focus, we get them together every morning in a meeting, we really concentrate on social skills. The parents were like, say less, say less, say less. I wonder if that's going to shift and change over the next few years as people's memories are short. But, kids who were like 3, 4, 5 during the pandemic are camp age now. And I'm sure they're still having some difficulties because they missed something formative. So that's what I've been thinking.
Joanna, I know you've coached a bunch of clients through that final stage. Go ahead. I see you had a good thing to say.
I can think of a deal breaker question for parents. And when they turn, whether it's on a tour or whether they've met you at a camp fair or whatever the environment is, when they turn and they look you deep into the eye and they say, how big is your camp? And camp directors often hesitate. Say the Chamber of Commerce response. We have 450 acres, and they go into this long-winded thing. And I say, well, we're at our fullest. They go into the Lyon Tri-State response, which is when we're at our fullest, we have 280 children. And there's only one right response. If I'm standing there holding David's hand, the response is, in David's cabin, there will be 11 other boys and 3 counselors.
To individualize it.
The individual response, because then the gregarious child with the mother who's very confident, or the shy and hesitant child with the mother who is as scared as can be for that child, is going to be comfortable with that response. And we have metrics that prove that teams that have been trained during their tours to respond accurately, not make numbers up, but accurately, have made a difference in their conversion rates while they've been touring because they answered that correctly, confidently. And the other question that can be a make or break is when someone says, I'm considering 3 camps. Why should I choose yours? And the camp
I love that question.
And the camp professional looks at them. Well, if you don't know, who should know? Yeah. So what do you do best? How do you change lives? Tell them and say it with such passion and such energy that parent just is caught and goes along with you, and it's sold.
So I'd like to end of this discussion on some practical tips because we've sort of moved backwards through the timeline of them knowing us. And so in the first case, when you have a lot of calls or a lot of messages from prospective parents, how do you prioritize those? How do you make them a priority in your daily work? What do you think, Chris?
How do you prioritize?
Getting back to prospective parents when you're feeling overwhelmed and there's lots going on.
I would say, honestly, can we just be real for a second? If you're not getting back to your parents, you're losing money.
Yeah.
And
Yep. Money moves the mission.
if your camp is for profit, what are you doing? What are you doing? So it's really that simple. Like I if that doesn't motivate you being successful at the project that you started, right? Or that you're joined or that you're in charge of. I mean, I don't want to get too dramatic, but that seems to indicate you need to really think about what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with not-for-profit though. Like if you just like, are you really serving the population? And again, I know this sounds so dramatic and like I'm coming down hard on people, but like, I don't necessarily mean to beat everyone with a stick. It's just that if you are not getting back to the parents, then that is really speaking to some sort of failure in your system or some resistance that you have that you need to work it out. We can have 100 tips. I hear there's a really fantastic book with lots of tips in it. You know what I mean? Like, but if you're not contacting your parents, you're not serving the population, you're not making money, why are you getting out of bed in the morning? You need to make it a priority. Like I don't even have tips for making a priority. It must be your priority.
Ruby, I've always appreciated your systems way of thinking. How would you deal with this situation?
The motivation that Chris is talking about, I think, is really key. And one thing that helped me in a job where I was expected to maintain relationships with over 100 people and partners and schools and whatnot. I mean, the list of folks that I was supposed to maintain relationships with was unreal. And that was outside the organization, nonetheless, my staff. So I drew a mind map kind of my responsibilities and just the visual of kind of chunking out, man, about a third of my time really needs to be spent with my staff. About a third of my time needs to be spent on schools and those relationships. And about a third of my time needs to be spent with community partners. And absolutely in an average week, there'd be some ebb and flow to that, but it created a nice, easy to follow guideline of like, have I spent my third of my time this week building those relationships, making those phone calls? And sure, staff week, it's going to be a little different. It's going to be a little out of balance, but the next week I can shift it back. And so if you need to find those boundaries, like check out a mind map and take your job responsibilities and list out who all people are that you owe some time to and see if that can help you put some numbers to it.
Yeah, that's really great. I think that, well, and in everything we do, we're teaching parents how we do everything. And if we understand that we're always teaching them, we're either teaching them that we're good at communicating and worthy of looking after their kids, or we're teaching them that we're not. And if you're able to prioritize the making money stage, I know for most camp people that talking to parents is hard, and that's why they avoid it. And there's a lot of reasons why, very logical reasons why, but if you can't be comfortable with it, then you have to figure out a way to practice it. You have to figure out a way to train yourself, to give yourself the right tools, or to have a recipe card in your back pocket with when parents call, here are the things I need to make sure that I mention. Or
Delegate appropriately.
Right, exactly. Yeah, to the train. Yeah, excellent. Anybody else want to add anything to this discussion before I start to put a button on it?
I feel like I came down too hard on everybody. I'm sorry, everybody. It's just like really though.
Cribs, I would add you
great.
don't go to bed at night until you've contacted everyone who's been in touch that day.
Wow.
I just don't know why you wouldn't. But anyway, okay.
Makes
Sorry,
sense.
everybody. Sorry if your feelings were hurt, but I'm trying to save your business. You're a nonprofit, please.
We want you to be able to look after more kids next year.
Exactly.
Right. Well, thank you. I appreciate all your thoughts, everybody. I'm going to switch us over to our tool of the week.
Tool of the week.
If you are new to the show because you're following Joanna's massive audience here or Ruby's massive audience to CampHacker, we ask people to bring a tool of the week that they suggest would make someone a better camp director. And Chris, I would like you to start us off, please.
Everyone's, if you're not watching this on YouTube, everyone's laughing. Okay. So I'm going rogue. Before
I
the
love the
podcast,
clap.
we talk about our tools of the week, but I'm going rogue and I'm recommending something else. Okay. So this is, picture it. I'm in Miami last weekend. Be jealous. It's fine. And like I saw, it was like a magic trick. This woman reached into her purse, took out like this piece of fabric, and then boom, it turned into a blanket. Like it's a pocket blanket. And I was like, that's
Yeah.
incredible, right?
Yeah.
And I just recalled that, and I looked it up. It's called there's lots of different versions, but I'm looking at the Matador pocket blanket. It's like
Mhm.
this big.
Mhm.
For if people are watching, it's like 4 inches, 3 inches, and it just expands into something that you can sit on outside. So get that. I mean, I just bought one during this podcast. I just bought one because it's the kind of thing that I can put in a pocket of my
Just
jacket.
have it with you.
Yeah, and just I'll be like, oh, I'd love to sit on this grass, but I'm wearing white jeans. Here comes the Matador pocket blanket. Ding, and then your life is automatically better. So buy one or buy 2. There's enough space for them in your pockets.
Amazing.
Joanna Warren Smith, who is famous for specifically wearing white pants to do camp inspections. Maybe that's a tool for Joanna in particular.
Except I have never shied away from sitting on the ground at camp. So what can I tell you? There's plenty of bleach where I live, so that's just fine. I love it, Chris. Thank you. I'm going to get my Matador square right away. That's good. Would you like
Joanna, what's your tool? Yeah, please.
tool? Okay. This works. It absolutely is guaranteed to work. If you want to increase your retention rate from last year, run your bunk list if you're a resident camp or your group list if you're a day camp. Now, do it session by session, week by week. Do not do an alpha list of the whole camp. That's not going to work for you. Do it bunk by bunk, session by session. Then take your 2025 list and highlight all of those kiddos who are coming back. And then go through the list, the 2024 list, and look at all of those kiddos who are not yet highlighted. And look for those OMG children and, by connection, the OMG parents, the ones who at the end of the summer said to you, this was the most wonderful experience my daughter's son ever had. Or the child that had such a great summer, transformative, that you knew they were going to be first to sign up.
Yeah.
Well, it's now February 10th, and they haven't signed up yet. What's happened? Figure it out. Look at the dynamic of the cabin. Speak to the cabin counselor if you can. Figure out what was going on. What happened? Why is that child not coming back? And be in touch with that family to, you ready for this? Personally invite them back. Increase your retention for 2025 by intentionally using your cabin bunk list from last year.
And when I've worked with clients on this problem, they are often surprised by those parents' reaction, which is, oh, I just forgot. Like they're reading into it. They must hate me now. But the answer is that parents don't think about camp as much as we do. And so, yeah, at the end of the summer, they were super excited and they missed an email when you're launched. And so it's often just tell them more. So I really appreciate that targeted way of looking at it, Joanna.
And
Ruby, what's your tool?
It's just make the effort.
Yep. Yeah, they'll feel great. That personal level service will make them really appreciate you.
I subscribed to that plan and did that, and we saw a big increase in our retention. And the most fun thing for me was getting to send a note to the staff members and saying, hey, your session 2 bunk all returned. And that made them warm and fuzzy and say, oh, I can't wait. And so we would talk about that at the beginning of the summer. This was something we tracked. And so such a great tip for all the data. Okay, my tool is a sous vide. If you're not familiar with this or you've never watched the show Below Deck, this is how they make a lot of the delicious meals on there. It's a little device that is, I don't know, 8-10 inches long, and you put it in water, a pot of water, And then you can vacuum seal or Ziploc bag all sorts of proteins, vegetables, whatever, and it cooks it for you. So it's like a crock pot, but even fancier. And it's great for someone who's on the go, or you get home from work and you're like, oh, I want to have something ready, but I want to go work out. And for me, as an outdoor professional, I'm always looking for an easy way to have healthy meals that aren't quite as processed but quick. And I don't have to do a lot of preparation, especially during the week. So if you're not familiar with sous vide, check them out. I have the Breville Jewel sous vide. We also used it to turn a giant cooler into a big bath, so that when we had a party at my house recently, we were able to just keep rolling out like chicken wings and ribs and all sorts of stuff. So it was pretty fantastic and a little bit of a game changer. So check them out.
That's great. I love it when the tool of the week is so different. Everybody's is so different. It makes me so happy. Thank you for those. My tool of the week is a book, and I've actually mentioned it, but I checked and I don't think I said it by name, and I didn't make it my tool. So I'm doing it right now. It is a book called The Canary Code. It's a book called The Canary Code, and you can find it wherever you get books from. It's a guide to neurodiversity, dignity, and intersectional belonging at work, and talks about how neurodivergent folks and folks who aren't kind of your mainstream crowd are a big indicator of problems early. And if you can, specifically, she has autism, she's specifically talking about neurodivergent people, how they're sensitive to things that others aren't, but when it becomes more of a problem, others will notice it, and how you can deputize those folks into helping with your customer service or solving problems at camp. And it is a really cool book for her thoughtfulness on that. So I'm grateful. If you again go to camphacker.tv/podcast, you can find our show notes there and past tools of the week, etc. Ruby, thanks for being on CampHacker again. I'm really grateful. How can folks get in touch with you?
You can find me at Ruby Outdoors on Instagram. And in this day and age, I'm just going to send you to Instagram, and everywhere else I'll get you from there.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I was wondering, Ruby, I bet it's been 10 years. You've been on CampHacker off and on for 10 years. 10 years ago when you first.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
That is awesome. Thank you. Joanna, thank you for being on CampHacker. We're so grateful. How can folks get in touch if they have questions or follow up with you?
Consulting at charter.net. Perfect.
Consulting at Charter. Yeah, thank you. So if you want somebody to help you with your camp communication, parent communications, running focus groups, Joanna's the one to talk to, and does great work. So I'm grateful you're here, Joanna. Thank you. Chris?
Where can people find me? Okay, check your grocer's freezer. No, I'm kidding. If you want to reach me, you can email me, chris@planetchris.net. Or if you want to see what my life is like and get ready, then follow me on Instagram at planetchris1.
Well done. Thank you, Chris. I would also encourage you to check out and reach out to Ruby and Chris, who are both doing some staff training and probably filling up for this year. So get in touch with them and see if they have space to do some training for you this year. I want to take 1 second before we go to highlight Camp Code, Ruby's podcast that she runs with Beth and Gabs on how to do staff training. And one of the beginning questions was, could they talk about camp training over and over and over again? And it has now been almost 10 years of them talking about camp staff training because it is so important. Yeah. So search in your podcast app or watch on the YouTube channel, the Camp Code podcast, talking specifics about how to make camp training effective and efficient and make people feel welcome, build community, etc. I hope you do that too. Thanks for the evening, friends.
The CampHacker podcast is brought to you by Beth and Travis Allison, summer camp leadership training and marketing consultants. Thanks for listening.
Hey Camp Pros, we love that our industry is built on sharing. In order to foster that spirit, if you've gotten even one good idea from a Go Camp Pro podcast, a masterclass, from the Summer Camp Pros group on Facebook, at a conference, or wherever else, we ask that you give credit where credit is due. That way, we can encourage camp pros to keep freely sharing their brilliant ideas and make the camp industry better. Thanks very much.